It is true that I myself create all the differences, but even if they are given up, they will rise again. I think to always remain in a thoughtless and dreamless state is not in my control. In the sense in which identification with differences takes place, in that same sense, the offense of dissent should also be thrown away. Saying this, giving up the Tatpada and Tvampada and dissolving into Asipada, that is, fixing all attention on self-joy, alone is a solution that can be accomplished. All feelings related to Dehi and Deha end in the attainment of consciousness of the Divine in the state of meditative union. And also, Swata Uttan Brahma attains peace, and one can experience the actualization of the incorporeal Brahma. The Deha Brahma gets dissolved here, and that itself is a fruit of the spiritual practice of incorporeal meditative union. Similarly, the absolute non-differentiated form of Jagadishvara is also dissolved, and therefore he is known as enlightened Brahma. In the same way, with the end of meditative union of the enlightened Brahma into the atomic Brahma, one attains the incorporeal Brahma. This way of interpreting things is based on indicative knowledge. As per Yoga Shastras, when one is practicing supraconscious meditative union, the experiences that become conscious are as described above. One has to understand everything based on the indicative meaning that is given. After actualizing the incorporeal meditative union, the enlightened Brahma, containing the differences of the world and the Lord of the world, namely Jagadishvara, the essence of Asipada melts away, leaving only the experience of bliss in the incorporeal Brahma. In this manner, I have described the actualization of Shakta Brahma in the nature of incorporeal supraconscious on the path of knowledge. He now moves on to experience the incorporeal being of the essence of Saura Brahma, also known as Jagadishvara. Here, Vidyapada and supraconscious meditative union conclude in the abode of Ganesha Brahma. How is it that Shakta Brahma, Saura Brahma and others are ending only in my abode? It is to know the nectar secret that it is being narrated here. After serially following the various steps, having different powers for support, it ends in identification with the essence of Surya, which is the root of all egos. For this reason, it should be given up. After this, he goes on to explain how the discriminative power of the intellect is used in the practice of meditative union for the purpose of giving up. The enlightened Brahma is the illuminator of Asipada, as a result of which he became proficient in the play of Jagadishwar of this world, apart from which he has no independent capability. He thinks, my assuming of this life proves to be illusory because due to my pride of my original essence of joy, of my Atman, is forgotten, and different kinds of pride are created which make me like that. Therefore, I decided that I have to necessarily give up the pride of enlightened Brahma in my soul. With this determination, I did spiritual practices of meditative union. By itself, the form of incorporeal supraconscious and the realization of incorporeal Brahma proved to be only an experience. This is the experience of Surya in the form of incorporeal Brahma. Similar to the two Brahmas is Sama-Brahma of Vishnu, which is of the same essence. That also can be given up only through meditative union. The three types of enchantments have been willingly accepted by me. That is the reason why I have attained the state of being that is beyond dependence on the support of the triad. It is necessary that we give it up. In such a meditative union, this essence of indifference also melts away, and only absolute faith in the form of Vaishnava Brahma is experienced. This is the incorporeal, supraconscious form of Vaishnava Brahma, which can be experienced as the essence of being. While practicing the experience of being in the incorporeal supraconscious through meditative union, how are we to observe the practice of meditative union of Shakti, Surya, and Vishnu independently as tutelary deities? Besides, how are we to realize the state when these tutelary deities merge completely with Ganesh Brahma, as indicated in the original shloka as Ahameva? By taking into consideration the serial order of spiritual practice followed until now, how can meditative union of Shiva Brahma be attained? He says, if the enlightenment and dissolution of the triad takes place according to my wishes, Shiva Brahma too begins to think that my essential nature, being truly unmanifested forever and always when my beingness exists, how is the play of the triad happening and why is it happening? The triad, namely the soul body, the individual soul, and identity with the essence of equanimity, are the three stages of knowledge whose existence is known only as an experience of their powers. They being dependent on each other because of their enchantment and attachment to each other, the characteristic of my beingness is the only power of detachment. Therefore, the responsibility of supporting them is on me for nothing at all. Why should I support this Maya, which is illusory and the source of all sorrows that are experienced? In brief, it appears that this connection to detachment is a form of bondage itself. Because of that, I am unable to experience the joy of this entire universe. Therefore, I should necessarily give it up. By taking the support of meditative union in this manner, the triad is cast off and expelled. The total unmanifest nature of Shiva Brahma attains Neti Brahma and gets established therein. And the experience of being in the form of incorporeal, supraconscious meditative union takes place. After speaking about the characteristics of the actualization of the four types of Brahma, Shakti, Surya, Vishnu and Shiva, by the experience of being in the incorporeal supraconscious, he goes on to sequentially explain the attainment of Ganesha Brahma. Ganesh, always existing in a state of majesty, of self-knowing, thinks of creating four kinds of differences as per his own sweet will to play about with and in the end get them all together and merge them in the Atman. But this being only illusory due to Maya, he realizes that he is simply getting entrapped by coming under her control. My own bliss of remaining in self-knowledge has been destroyed, and yet I am engaging in the nature of the four types for nothing at all. The passion for playing with them has stuck on me. Therefore, he decides to give them up and holds on to the contemplation of giving them up through meditative union. Thereafter, he gives up the support of Asipada of the four types of Brahmas and their Jagadishwaras, and then, giving up the sense of identification, he forever becomes free from all bondage. The very nature of the four powers having got burnt, and with it all forms of Maya having got destroyed, his absolute bliss of Swananda Brahma becomes accomplished. Notwithstanding that with the experience of being, the incorporeal supraconscious form of Ganesha, the entire Jagat Brahma and all others get annihilated. How does one know such bliss of Brahma the Divine? He goes on to explain this in detail. When all the four vrittis, that is tendencies such as castaway, etc., get dissolved into the restraining tendency, all the tendencies of the mind Having thus dropped off, there is no clinging on to anything. This is the end of Tvam-pada. After that, there being no sixth tendency, the state exists without any support or dependency on anything. That is the state of Tat-pada. There is nothing by way of ending of Asipada in the form of Brahma himself. For this sake, efforts are made to accomplish the supraconscious meditative union by restraint of tendencies. There are two types of knowledge that can be attained through the support of the tendencies of the mind, namely that with differences and that beyond differences. Knowledge from differences to single-pointedness of the mind can bring various kinds of understanding. But later, everything being dependent on absence of differences, it is possible to attain them with the restraining tendency of the mind. The dependence is only to the extent of the name. As it is, so it shall be. Since this is the only feeling experienced, it has to be understood as being independent. This meditative union is known as supraconscious meditative union. When tendencies such as single-pointedness of the mind and others become completely restrained, what remains for spiritual practice of supraconscious meditative union is a repletion of knowledge, because when the entire knowledge has been used up, that is, even when single-pointedness has ceased, what remains as an experience is that which is known. There, forms like causal matter and conscious spirit, dependence and non-dependence are only understood. But considering the words from the Shrutis, namely, Vijnana Taramare Vijaniyat, meaning there is no such knower of that known possible. This completion of Asipada is the extremity, and the original seed of desire for the possibility of differences lies here. It is here that one feels the existence of the play of causal matter and conscious spirit. Therefore, it is a descent. Although the existence of causal matter and conscious spirit becomes possible here, still the essence of knowledge and the joy of identification are not known to them. It is just as the sweetness of sugar is not known to the sugar. When the sweetness is put into something only, then its joy becomes known to her. In brief, when Asipada, which is the accumulation of all knowledge, melts away or is cast away, then only the light of the incorporeal Brahma is revealed, and the state expressed as Svada Swasukh Nishtam Yad Brahma Sankyam Prakirtitam is experienced. Even then, it does not understand the joy of self. This is the incorporeal, supraconscious experience of being in meditative union, where even the awareness of one's own self-joy does not exist. As a result, there is no possibility of ascent. It is known as Parata Uttan Brahma, as the bearer of the glory of the absolute self-knowing. The Lord of Swananda, out of his own desire, commences the play of this universe. Then only the possibility of differences exist. It is for this reason that it becomes possible to know that ascent is possible. This is how we come to know the reverse ascent of the divine.